Y'all see this? I gotta get my ass to the salon. I wanted to make a little video talking about my fall / moving into winter planning, because I synced some videos on TikTok about the winter cure. The creator's name is Gabrielle Coffee, and I will try to remember to link her information down below. But she shared kind of a timeline looking at daylight savings time, the winter solstice, losing sunlight if you're in the northern hemisphere, how that affects your body, and what we're gonna fucking do about it. And so I was like super inspired by her video and the PDF. I downloaded her free PDF, and I had already put together the Wealthy Witches grimoire for my mentees. So I added a couple of things to it that I worked on this weekend that I'm going to go over with you. But first things first, I want to talk about a book that I've been reading, and that is Real Self-Care by Dr. Pooja Lakshmi. And it is a book, it's like a self-help book, but it is about mainly setting boundaries and letting your principles and your values guide what you do, rather than being reactive to things, rather than being codependent, which is something that I've been working on in therapy for over a year now. Is this tendency for codependence to always want to capitulate to what other people want to do, to always seek out everybody else's input and be a people pleaser and make sure that like nobody's upset with me about anything. And let me just tell you that trying to operate a business from that place of codependency and people pleasing, not gonna work. If you recognize that that's what you're doing right now, let me just go ahead and spoil the ending for you. You will be burnt out. You will so resentful of your clients, employees, colleagues. You're gonna develop a lot of resentment towards people who you are seeking constant approval from. We don't want to do that anymore. So in addition to sharing what I've been doing for my fall planning and for just kind of imagining what my life is looking like right now, I want to talk about this passage from Real Self-Care. It is from the chapter about boundaries. And like I said, when I shared this passage on TikTok, I really think like this is the thesis of the book. If you listen to this part that I'm about to tell you, it's 4 words, and you don't read the rest of the book, you don't do anything else except take this part and go with it, like you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good to go. Okay, so this is about boundaries, and this line, the sentence is 5 words long. It starts with but, so we can really say the statement is just 4 words. Boundaries are not co-created. And I wrote a little note here to codependency, because this is what I noticed. When we are trying to set a boundary and we're thinking about, well, what happens if they do this? That's switching and flipping our attention onto the other person. Boundaries are not co-created. You don't need anybody else's input or approval in order to set a boundary. You can definitely have people in your life, or a mentor like me, like I do for my bookkeepers, who are my clients who I mentor. You can have people in your life who can help hold you accountable for setting a boundary, but the person helping you stay accountable should not be the person you're trying to set the boundary with. Okay. An example of this would be if I actually, true story, had a client who's actually they're a tax preparer, and I do subcontract bookkeeping work for them. So I just give them a contractor's rate to reconcile their clients' bookkeeping for them. And they emailed me over the weekend and they asked if I could do the reconciliations for 2024 for one of their clients. Just one account, but still 12 months of reconciliation by today. As the time I'm filming this, it was a 2-day turnaround time. And that was over a weekend. Am I upset with this person for asking? Absolutely not. Anybody can ask me to do something or ask a question. That's not within my control, right? I might have some feelings about that. But in this particular case, not upset with this person asking the question. They were simply asking for help and if I was available to help them. And I just responded and said no, that timeline was not going to work, but I'm happy to work on the project with them, but it would have to be a different timeline that we talked about because it wasn't going to get done by the day that they had asked. And they responded like, oh my gosh, that's fine. We can totally work on it later. Not a problem. Me setting a boundary has nothing to do with that person shouldn't ask me to work over the weekend, to do work in such a short turnaround time. I'm not having any of those thoughts because my boundary is I'm not working on the weekend. And also for any job, any bookkeeping or consulting work that I do, like there just is going to be a turnaround time. I have regular clients, I have my community, I've got other commitments that I've made to people, to my business, to my time. That's not going to happen. So that's what a boundary looks like in real time, especially for bookkeepers, but just business ownership in general. Tax deadlines don't have anything to do with me because I'm not preparing taxes. Even if that were the case, you can go to any tax preparer on October 10th and say, oh my God, I need to get my extension done by the 15th. And they would be like, well, that's not happening. Like we're 5 days away. We just met. Not a problem that was asked because I can just say no. And even if that person responded negatively or didn't want to contract with me anymore or went on the internet and talked shit about me, okay, like that has nothing to do with me. I just thought I'd share that passage and give this is such a concrete example of what setting a boundary looks like and how boundaries are not co-created. Perfect example of that. And I feel good about it. And I was able to spend most of my weekend doing some planning and doing some prep. So let's talk about that now. Actually, I need to get my other notebook. So I've shared a little bit before about my various journals and my weekly planner, but this weekend I took the time to really sit down and go over what I want to be doing right now moving into winter. Let's back up just a little bit. Okay, so this started with me really wanting to nail down a bedtime routine and a wake up routine that really support me. I don't have any problems like falling asleep. I have problems like waking up in the middle of the night, but I already have a routine for that, which is that I get out of bed and I sit down and read a book or do a meditation or journal. I do not look at my phone until I'm ready to go back to sleep. I usually wake up on time. I don't need an alarm clock. And I also don't sleep in my phone in my room. So I'm already doing some things towards supporting myself with like sleep hygiene and stuff. So that's fine. But I really wanted to level up my bedtime and wake up routines so that I'm just not feeling rushed or depleted or having trouble getting going in the morning. Set, what time I want to go to bed by, what time I want to wake up by. I wrote down what my bedtime routine is going to look like, and this includes things like skincare, taking like a relaxing bath once a week. Obviously I shower every day, but like a nice relaxing bath, laying out clothes to go for a walk in the morning, maybe taking my supplements, not having any screen time before I go to bed, at least an hour before I get into bed, making sure that I do my journaling, have my Kindle in my bed so that I can read as I go to sleep. All of these things that I already do automatically, they're not automatic, habits that I've already developed, I wrote them down and then added on what else I would like to do and be really consistent with. Then my wake up routine, looking like, again, what does the skincare look like in the morning? Making sure I get my SPF on, taking my supplements, drinking coffee. I do a meditation in the morning. Having my breakfast prepped and ready to go is really important because I'm getting back into filming TikToks every morning. I want to have 2 TikToks filmed every weekday in the morning. So prepping my breakfast ahead of time is going to support me with that. Making sure that my coffee pot is ready to just be turned on in the morning supports me with that. So you can kind of see like the dominoes are going to fall if we set each piece up. This is not something that has to be done all at once. A lot of the work that I've been doing on my routines, I've already established the habits for them. So I'm not having to build new habits from scratch. I'm working with what I've got, getting better with some sleep hygiene, adding things on like routine skincare are things that I want to be doing. I also wrote down what I want my exercise/movement to look like. And I am going to be talking about exercising and food in this video. So if that is at all triggering for you, just know that that's what we're going to be talking about. So I like to call it movement. And I want to be doing movement 3 times a week. I wrote down some options for my movement, which are very gentle and things that I know I will enjoy doing, that I won't necessarily have to be convinced to do, and things that are low barrier of entry for me. So things like taking the dogs for a walk, doing some foam rolling, doing some Pilates, even standing on my shake weight that I got from TikTok. But here's where the real literal meat and potatoes came in for my planning this weekend. I have had sort of a meal prep plan system using a spreadsheet that I created for over a year now. And that spreadsheet is amazing and I love it. And I'm going to share with you how you can get a copy of that spreadsheet in this video. I am recommitting to doing things like prepping breakfasts for the week, sticking to my recipes that I have grocery shopped for, actually cooking and eating the food that's in my house rather than ordering DoorDash more often than I want to be. I make this breakfast casserole that's really good. It's like a strata where you take like cubed toast and then you do bacon, eggs, and cheese, and it is amazing. Slice it up into little sections, put it in the fridge. Takes 1 minute to heat up in the microwave in the morning, and it is excellent. I also really like doing overnight oats, and so I make a big batch of those. They also last me a week. Having things like mandarins on hand so that I can eat some fruit and have some fiber in the morning, because oranges are a great source of fiber, by the way. And maybe just having something easy like cereal and milk. Like, I don't have to prep that ahead. It's easy, and it means that I'll be eating without ordering out if I just have it in the pantry available. I'm looking for ways to support myself during a pretty difficult period of my life personally. I've been going through a lot of changes, having to deal with a lot of things. And there are many weeks where I have several days where just feeding myself, just making sure that I like shower, maybe step outside for a minute is like difficult to do. And so having a plan ahead of time, supporting myself, making it a low barrier of entry at every single point, that means that I'm going to be successful more often than not. If I can plan ahead, knowing that there are going to be days where I'm really feeling it and I do not want to work, much less cook dinner, I can plan ahead for that and I can support myself ahead of time with that. So that's the whole point of all of this. When you are self-employed, you are creating your own revenue and source of income. It's so important that then you support yourself in your personal life and take care of yourself so that you can continue showing up and working and making money, because things cost money. I don't know if y'all knew that, but when you're self-employed, there's nobody like calling to make sure that you're going to be at work at a certain time, that you're, following up on projects. It is very self-driven, and that can be extremely challenging if you have any sort of neurodivergence, or if you struggle with depression and anxiety like I do, or simply, if you're just going through it. Because we all have those times where life is just lifing, right? We want to make sure that we're supported at those times, and we can plan ahead for that. That does require that you do at some point have capacity. And there probably maybe is just one day a month where you have that capacity. Okay. Let's work with that. Is there one day a month or one day every other week that you can spend doing this kind of prep work and planning? What tasks can you delegate? What can you make easier on yourself? I have a lot of privilege in the things that I have acquired, like my Instant Pot means that I can cook dried beans for really low cost and have a lot of volume. And, just being able to afford groceries on a regular basis is somehow becoming a privilege, which is fucked up and crazy, but I'm not talking about necessarily that. If you have the financial means to do it, you can subscribe to a meal plan where they deliver ingredients or they deliver already prepared meals. That could be a way that you support yourself. I'm sharing what works for me and what I have access to, and hopefully you'll find that helpful and you can take some of what I'm doing here and adapt it for your own lifestyle. For lunches, I'm really focusing on fiber right now because fiber is amazing in all of the ways. It's like the trendy superfood right now, but it's kind of always been the case. Like every big fad diet or whatever, like hasn't focused on fiber necessarily, but it ended up including a lot of fiber, like high fiber content. For lunches, I'm focusing on bulking up fiber. And so we're back to our dense bean salad TikToks, y'all. I started making dense bean salads last summer and I was like, why haven't I been doing this the entire time? And then I stopped doing it for some reason, just life. And I'm like, okay, I really want to prioritize the dense bean salads again because they're so yummy. And yeah, the fiber is crazy, and the protein too because it's beans. Anyway, so we're back on bean salad. I'm also really into these Marry Me chickpeas that are also viral. It's just chickpeas in a sauce, y'all. Like, we're not reinventing the wheel here. Also thinking about making some rice with like added lentils, which I also know is a cultural food. I don't know the name of it, but lentils and rice together, adding bulk for less and adding fiber and protein to your rice. Like, let's do it, okay?
Oh, yeah.
For dinners, I am pretty good at being able to make dinner if it's like a 30-minute kind of recipe. And a lot of the HelloFresh recipes that I got when I was subscribed are just that. And so I just picked out the ones that I like. I organized them into a binder. I also want to have snacks and sweet treats because your girl just likes a sweet treat, okay? So I have 2 very ripe bananas right now. And part of my plan was like, all right, I got to make some banana bread with these things. So that number 1, I have banana bread, which is amazing. And number 2, the bananas don't go bad without me not eating them. This is just making these kind of like higher level decisions about your meal plan can help overall. You don't need to sit here and nitpick recipes. If you have, I just want to have like high fiber protein lunches, I know dense bean salad will work for that. You can quickly search for high fiber recipes. Establishing like a larger goal will help you filter down, and you can also be in the mood for different things at different times. The goal for breakfast, right, is to have things prepped so that I can just heat it up, or with overnight oats, I don't heat anything up. I just put them into a bowl with like some cut up fruit and maybe some granola. So the overnight oats, the breakfast casserole supports the larger goal of having breakfast prepped already so that I can get up, do what I need to do, film my TikToks in the morning like I want to be doing, have time for meditation, all that good stuff. Come up with your higher vision level goals for all of these planning things. Bedtime routine, the higher goal is like calm my shit down before I go lay in bed. Journaling, no screen time an hour before, reading, having my white noise on, turning on the diffuser with the lavender essential oils. Like, all of that is in support of the larger goal of being able to like come down before I go to bed so that I don't have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. I wrote down at the top of my planner this week, remember what works. Because I've been doing a lot of like, oh, this sounds fun, or oh, this might be a cool idea to do this over here. And I really need to keep reminding myself that like, I know what works in my business already. I need to remember to do that. I can play and add things on if I want to, but I need to remember what actually is working and stick to that. So that's kind of my focus for the week. I have my little daily kind of checklists. Today, I need to make banana bread. I've already made the bean salad, so I need to check that off. And I fill up this guy of water 3 times because that ends up being half my body weight in ounces. So I have little boxes to check off each time I fill up my water bottle. I do box breathing. I try to get that done 3 times a day. So again, if I fill up my water bottle, I stand there and do a box breath while I'm doing it, so that I can check it off. I also have a commitment to daily journaling, meditation, and so those are on here. And then the movement is on here as well. But like I said, I wrote down that I only want to try to meet the minimum of movement 3 times a week. So I still have a movement box that I could check off every day, but it's not a requirement. It's just to say, yes, I moved today, or no, I didn't get around to doing any sort of like intentional movement practice today. I have like all of my other things that like happen during the week just so I kind of know what's coming up. This week ends up being a little busy for me. I know ahead of time that that's what's happening. So I did the meal planning. I did start to work into these new routines ahead of time for like bedtime and wake up times and those routines in support of busy weeks like this, because then of course this week also happens to be the week that I'll be on my period. Yay for me. Knowing all of that and recognizing I still have to show up for my business and do work so I can get paid and take care of myself. That's a lot. That's a lot to carry at once. The more planning you can do ahead of time, the more support you can give yourself, the better off you're going to be. So make it work for you. This is how I do things. it has worked for me long term, and I continue to add things in as I want to. Think to yourself, what is one baby step that I could take to support my well-being? What routine or habit do I want to create? And how can I take a baby step towards that this week? And if you want this entire system, what I do for planning, daily, weekly, monthly, etc., then you can actually get the Wealthy Witches Grimoire, because I am selling it as a PDF, and it comes with the link to the spreadsheet for my meal planning / grocery list. So like I was talking about, I have my regular recipes that I want to be making every week. I have a spreadsheet where you put in all the ingredients for the recipe, including whether or not it takes multiple pans on the stove, or the stove and the oven, or just the oven, or no cooking at all, just assembly. This spreadsheet handles all of that, so you can see how involved a recipe is going to be, whether or not you should probably plan that ahead and prep it ahead. And then the spreadsheet also creates your grocery list for you. Woo woo! I love this spreadsheet so much. I want to share it with you all. And you can get that inside the Wealthy Witches Grimoire, which is one of the resources that I created for my mentees inside the Spellbound Books Academy. Spellbound Books Academy is my 6-month group mentorship program. It is on a wait list right now. So if you're a bookkeeper, we need to talk. Get on the wait list for free. I will include the link in the description below for you to get on the wait list. Get a copy of the Wealthy Witches Grimoire while you're waiting, so you can start taking these steps to implement this kind of planning system into your life and in your business, so that we can be fully supported in our messy human selves. If this video is helpful to you, please leave me a comment below. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Your support means everything to me. Thank you so much for supporting my channel and for watching this video. And a special note to my bookkeepers who are wondering how the heck all of this fits into bookkeeping. You're a human being. You do have a human body. It does have physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual needs. We do have to care for all of that if you're going to show up and do bookkeeping and get new clients and build a business. So it is all connected, and you will not build a bookkeeping business without doing some version of this work. That's why in my mentorship program, in the Spellbound Books Academy, we are diving into this stuff, as well as how to find new clients, how to market your services, what happens when a client is upset with you, what happens when you make a mistake in someone's bookkeeping, all of that, plus the self and personal care systems that you need to survive and to thrive. Grab the Wealthy Witches Grimoire and get on the Spellbound Books Academy waitlist, and we're going to be enrolling soon, y'all. Talk to you later. Bye!